and I was talking with one of the ladies, and she was sharing one of her stories, and she said, you should go, and I actually looked it up, she talked about it, I went and looked it up, and it just sounds so wonderful. She said, if you live in Texas, you have to go to NASA in Houston, because now they have the Apollo 11 control, what do you call it, control center? That mission control. The whole mission thinking, something about control. The whole mission control from the 60s, it's there. Everything that the countdown, everything. She said it's so amazing. And so she went, and then there's a room with one of the rockets, one of the spaceships is out, and you can see it's like as big as a building. It's so huge. It was well over her head. The bay doors are open. It just feels like you're on this flight. It was so amazing. And she took her grandchild, and she goes, "Oh my God, it's so amazing. So look at that." She's just going on and on. It gets like, oh, what are we eating? When's lunch? And she was so disappointed. She said, "Oh my God, this is so amazing. Why aren't they as excited?" And so that was part of our conversation, was how do we inspire our children? How do we inspire our children? And the reason why he wasn't excited is, I'm sorry, Elon Musk, you think that we can hop on a spaceship and go flying around anytime we want to now. So they're in that generation. When we first saw flight, we hadn't even broken the sound barrier. The sound barrier hadn't been broken. And so we had all of us were watching and just so excited about that. So that's a part of our history. But that's not theirs. That's not theirs. And so they don't see what all the excitement is about. They have their own excitement. So we're just simply talking about, how do we inspire our children? How do we teach our children? And I'm thinking of my mom. And these are some of the things, I'll say some other things, but I know you have them in your mind, from your parents as well. Stand up straight was definitely one. Don't eat with your mouth full. What are you doing? Or don't talk with your mouth full. What's happening? Don't put your elbows on your. There's so many don'ts. Don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. And I'm thinking, what were all of those things? What were they trying to share with us? What does this mean to stand up straight? What's the point of that? And what that is, if you reflect that for us, for New Thought, it's what we do. It's called being congruent, the law of congruency. So as within, so without. As within, so without. And we also have this thing that's part of that we say, fake it till you make it. So it's about stepping into the thing you want to do before you're actually able to do it. So it's better to understand if you think about a job. If you're at work and there's the next position that you want to step into, then already start doing that work. Don't wait until someone says, "Oh, I think you might be good at that." How would they know? Until you begin to step into the next step, the next position that you want. And as you are stepping more into it, you are becoming that. You're becoming that position. And you can see already, oh, she knows, oh my God, she already knows how to do that. Because you stepped into it. That's what life is like. That's what the law of congruency is like. Part of that is about that. That's what we get to do. And part of what they're saying to us, stand up straight. Because what does it look like when you walk around like this? What does it say about you? Ooh, pick on me. I mean, don't look at me. No, but when you stand up and you walk into a room, people tell me I walk into a room like I'm a queen. Or you're the queen, whatever, because I feel like I belong. So you stand up straight and you look and you look people in the eye, because it tells them and then it tells you that you belong, that you are good enough, that you are strong, that you're all the things that you need to be. That's what that means. All the things that our parents were telling us about is a part of that. It's a part of us stepping into who they wanted us to be. What they knew was going to help us and serve us as we move forward. And also that when we become that, the more they would tell us that, shake a person's hand firmly. Don't give them a limp. I can't. How many of you can stand on limp hands here? Oh my God. I can't. I don't know what that is. But there's just something about a limp. It's like, don't even do it. Don't even go to the hand down. It's going to be limp. Just don't do it. And so those are the things that our parents were telling us. And so as we were talking, the ladies and I were talking, and we were talking about her grandson and how do we inspire. One of the things that came up is exactly what we do all the time. How to win friends and influence people? Dale Carnegie? What it is? Oh no, what's Dale? Was it Robert Appeal? Remember, all of them told us the same things. Why is it people like you so much? What is the one thing that you have to do? Listen to them. You have to listen to them. And as we were there that night, as we were talking about all those things, what we had been doing was just going around the table and saying, how you doing? Tell us what's going on with your life. And we'll just all sit and let that person just tell us all about it. And we're just so enthralled because they have great lives. But if we don't say, oh, tell me, what's going on? What's going on? Oh, let me share with you. And so that shows you, here's another thing that people tell you, nobody cares what you know until they know that you care. Right? Nobody cares what you know until they know that you care. So how do you care about people? Ask about them. Ask them what's going on. And so that's what we decided. That's the thing to do with our kids, and actually we already do it. And we get good results. It's like, oh, what's going on with your grandson? How's it going? Not to my grandson, just that's all. So how's it going? And then telling me about what's going in their lives, or going on in their lives. I just get to share. I just get to hear what's going on. But then what happens is they start calling me, hey, girl, I was thinking about you. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? What do you think about the other thing? But that happens because you call, or you ask, or you show that you care, because you do. Yep. So if you do, again, one of the things we talk about here in New Thought is showing up. Showing up. And that's what showing up looks like. Me and those ladies show up for each other. We are busy. We have busy lives. Many of you are like, when are you coming? You are always gone somewhere. Where are you going next? And I frankly, I will be gone for the next 2 weeks. Because I'm going to retreats, I'm learning things, I'm getting filled. Because I talk with you guys, I share with you, I think about how to help you have the life that you're looking for. But then I also need to be filled myself so that I can come back and do that for you. I need someone to do it for me. And so that's what I did. So I go to retreats and go to, some of them are retreats just to get filled up. And some of them are learning places where I go for workshops, which is Anton, the group that we belong to. That's where I go to do that. So I'll be gone. I'll be gone. But that's what we get to do. And that's how we encourage and inspire people to live their lives. Because we already know what's possible for them, because you know what's possible for you. And if we know that we are all individualized expressions, then we don't have to worry about something.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's
You're
your mic is.
you're rubbing against something.
Yeah. I think the cord is rubbing against the top of the mic.
Okay. Well, we'll try to do that again. So that go. I don't know what that thought, but the point is that this is what we get to do. That we get to share, we get to ask, we get to inspire, just by being, just by asking, just by showing up and caring. And so that's what we're talking about, and that's where we want to go. And so, again, that's what our parents were trying to do when they were telling us to stand up straight, to help us become what they knew we needed to be people who help society instead of sucking off of society and not contributing. We become contributing members of society by understanding some of those things, and that's what we're doing. So as we move forward, we were talking again. This is going to be most of my story is going to come from this weekend because I was so inspired with these ladies. So another lady said, and she was sharing her story. She was feeling bad. She was feeling bad because she felt like she said something wrong. She said something wrong, and she said, I don't know how to take it back. I don't know how to take it back. And so she shared what had happened. And I'm not going to go into details, but what the basis of what happened was she was asked by her grandchildren, 2 of them, what do you think about this? Like I said, this is, but what do you think about this? And she said, I think it's horrible. I think it's, what was the word? I think it's abominable.
Abomination.
Yeah, not abomination, but abominable. Yeah, it was just, I think it's horrible. And then they said, oh. And so they didn't move forward with what they were going to do after she made that statement. And so she was talking to us, and she said, they didn't, so then they didn't move forward with what we were there to do. And I just feel like that wasn't my place. Well, as we were listening to the story and we understood what she was saying, what was horrible, we said, it is horrible. You're absolutely correct. And let me tell you the other thing. They obviously thought it was rebel too because they asked for your opinion. And when you gave them your opinion, they stopped you. Your opinion, what it did was give them permission to do what they wanted to do anyway. But they weren't sure it was right. They weren't sure it was right. So let yourself off the hook. Because what you did, and here's what I'm saying, show up as your authentic self. Tell your truth. It may not be popular. Everybody might not agree. We're not trying to get agreement. Sometimes you will, and sometimes you won't. But the best thing for us to do, I believe, moving forward, is to always be authentically you and tell the truth in the most caring way you can, but tell the truth. Tell the truth. One of the things we're reading in the book of Joy is that they're talking about how much suffering. They made an example. They talked about Nelson Mandela. I didn't know this. Somebody else shared this with me before. But because all I know about Nelson Mandela is when he came out of prison and what a peaceful guy he was. But apparently, going in, he was a real jerk. He was a real mean, he was a horrible person. And so when he went in, for the whole 25 years that he was in, he learned from walking in those shoes he'd never been walking in before, compassion for others, even the people who jailed him. And he came out completely different. And they said, well, the question that the reporter was asking was, how did he get that to happen? He didn't get it to happen. It happened. He had no choice. He was locked up. There was no place else to be. The decision that you make, the decision that we get to make, is whether we're going to how we're going to deal with the situation that's at hand. So here's a quote from Pjae. It's not the action that people take. Okay? It's what you take away. It's not the actions that people take. It's what you take away. So the actions they took, they locked him up and they tried to beat him down. He was very smart. Apparently, he was very smart. Everybody that was in that prison were professors and very smart and all that. They had them doing menial tasks like sewing bags and breaking rocks and not being able to do the things that they were trained to do, their minds were able to do, trying to break them down. Trying to break them down. That's the reason why they did that. What he could do is say, their actions would have tried to break them down. And he could have taken that on. But it doesn't matter what the actions those people take. What matters is what he took away. What matters is what you take away. What you decide you're going to learn or do from this experience. Those are all your decisions. I was talking to one of the ladies, and she's living in a small town that's surrounded by fundamentalists. Okay, that's fine. But she feels isolated. This is one of the reasons why we actually do continue the live stream, because we are what she's able to listen to be, we're her family. And so she listens to us every Sunday, and that's the only church she has. She's just really out there. And she said, they're always, she's isolated. I'll shun her, they won't let her get involved in things because she doesn't have, all the Jesus memorabilia, all the Bibles and the crosses and all that. And so she says, they just don't include her in things.
Very Christian.
Very, 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 very much so. And so, not here to judge, I'm just telling you what goes on. But what I said to her was that they don't get to do that. They don't get to tell you who you are. And she goes, oh, they do tell me. No, that's the action they're taking. But what you take away is up to you. You don't have to take on what they're saying. You know who you are. You know what you do, and you know what's right for you. You don't have to take it on. Okay, so, yes, you're doing exactly this, getting online, calling up some friends, doing this stuff with us, whatever we can do, getting away, you don't have to take it on. Okay? That's what we get to do. We get to make decisions. And that's how we live our lives. That is what our parents are trying to tell us about. Standing up, standing straight is about owning your own life. And it begins because we know how powerful thoughts are. It begins with the thoughts you have. Then it goes to the actions you take. And from the actions you take, you become that which you say you want to be. But you can't just think about it. You actually have to take action. You have to think, do, become. Think, do, and become. That's how it works. And that's what our parents were telling us. They thought it for us. Do this, and you will become these people. You'll become someone, a contributing member of society. You'll become someone. You know what manners are about? You know what manners really are about? They're about loving other people. They're about thinking about other people. They're about thinking ahead. How does what I'm doing affect someone else? That's really what manners are about. That's what they're about. And if you see somebody selling you some manners and you think, how does that help somebody? Perhaps you don't need to do it. But that's really the basis of what manners are for. Thinking about other people as well as yourself. So that's who we are. That's what we do. That is what standing up straight is about. Thinking, doing, becoming. We get to decide what actions we take, what we take away. And one of the things that I would like for you to take away, I want to wrote it down something so I say it. What's ours to do? Our lives evolve. And it begins, to me, the best thing for us to do as we're moving forward is to always be asking, what's mine to do? You have to ask it out loud. In the middle of a conversation with someone, as I hear them saying something, should I be saying something about this? Do I need to bring my authentic self? Because Pjae and her authentic self, it's not. You know what I mean? It's pretty loud and pretty clear. But I was on a call the other day, and I can't remember what we were talking about, but I said what I said. One of the guys said, and let's say our Pjae, she tells it like a TI is. That's what we do. But that's what we get to do. So I ask myself, even as I'm talking about right now, what is mine to do? What is mine to do? When we were there that night, we were talking about books. So I had like a few books for our book club, because some recommendations. And one of them, they'd already read the one we just finished, the Midnight Library. And the reaction is pretty well split down the middle. For those who read it, and those who really loved it, and those who are like, oh my God, girl, get on with it. Just the character. And so we said that, and I saw the look on one of the people's faces, one of the ladies' faces, and I thought, oh, I forgot about that. And so she spent the night, and so did I. So the next morning, I came back to her, because I asked her, I was just thinking about that. Oh my God, this is probably what happened. I need to check in with her and see. So what happens is, what this book is about, I'm not going to share what it was about, but who wrote the book? The first book that the guy, right? The book? I think it doesn't matter.
Yes.
I should say the author. The author was his first book was about depression, and all the things he had gone through with depression. His second book was a fiction book, and the lead character, having known that the author wrote this book, then we later understood that this person was him, and all the things they were going through was a person with depressive personality, or whatever you call that. I'm not sure if the personality was a mental thing. I'm not really sure. I don't know what it is, but they were suffering from depression. Well, if you don't explain that, if you don't give us the backstory, then it just sounds like a person who is, who just won't get on with life. Like, come on, wake up. And that's what a lot of people who suffer depression hear from other people who don't understand what it is to suffer depression. And they say, come on, just snap out of it. Just stop eating, you can lose weight. Just, and you're not even a part of it. So I recognize that the person who loved the book suffered through depression. And so she read the book differently than I did. And so I apologized to her, because I could see that she realized we didn't understand. None of us could tell what that book was about, but she didn't speak up and tell us because she didn't want more questions. She just didn't. That's her life. That's her life. My point is this. You show up as an authentic person, meaning whatever your values are. And no, we don't get everything right all the time. We don't. We're human beings. And if we realize that we haven't done something working right, we get to go back and try to fix it. Try to just own the fact that, you know what, I messed that up. I didn't do that right. And she was very gracious and received the apology. And we talked for about another hour about what she was feeling that night and what was going on. So back to the original thing that I was saying, how do we care about people? Norman Peel or Dale Carnegie, all of them said, listen to people. Let people tell you their story. Because nobody knows or cares. Nobody cares until they know how much, nobody cares what you know until they know how much you care. And that's what we get to do. We get to be compassionate. We get to be our authentic self, which is the first thing I'm saying. Be your authentic self. When we step out and we are human, and our authentic self rubs it kind of wrong against somebody, we get to go back and talk about that. We get to be brave enough. Brave enough. And you know, I was watching, I finally remember what this name of this, or actually somebody looked it up, what the name of this movie that I was telling you guys about is called Pjae Stanley. I do a lot of movie quotes, and they're just so right on. I love it. And one of the things that, and I'm not going to tell you what it's all about, just look it up, it's a great, cute little romantic rom-com. It's called Pjae Stanley. And Leopold is the guy, obviously Kate's girl. And Kate said, they were starting to fall in love, and she said, I found that I've never had the courage to love. I've never had the courage to love someone. And he said, what he has found is that courage simply means that you are so convicted about something that you have no choice but to move. That's all courage is. You are so convicted about something that you have no choice but to move. And the best way to understand that is to think about all the people that ran into 9/11, that ran into fires, our guys that help us, the fire police, the chief police. You think they want to get shot? Think they want to get burned? No. They're so convicted, and that's what they do. They're here to save people. So they run into burning buildings because that's the power of their conviction. They have to do it. Even if why do soldiers go to war? They're not anxious to go get shot or shoot people. But they're convicted, they're patriots, and they feel like they can't let this move forward. They have to do something. That's all courage is. That's all it is. So we just move forward with our convictions. And we're convicted, and we know what we value, what our values are. And no matter how loud I speak or how boisterous I am, I actually care about people. That really matters to me. People matter to me. Being compassionate matters to me. And when I find that it hurts somebody, it hurts me. And I have to try to fix it. What is it that you do? Always asking, what's mine to do? What's mine to do? What's mine